One of my favorite films was part of a series that happened to be playing during the time I was taking Intro to Film. And they were having a series of free film screening over at the Varsity Theater. One of those was Days of Heaven. Watching the film on this 35 millimeter print, you could see the film grain, you could see the weight of history that it had on the actual film stock. And so that was really interesting to me. I really just enjoyed hearing Greg Flaxman, the professor of that course, talk about a film in such a way that I'd never really heard before, right? Like, I'd always been into film, but the level of analytical detail and the history, these were all things I didn't really quite know yet at the time.
The very first film class I ever took was Introduction to Film Theory with Rick Warner, and one of the films we watched was Camera Person.
Kristen Johnson's Camera Person.
Camera Person by Kristen Johnson.
I remember just being paralyzed in awe with how much I enjoyed that movie, and I never wanted that film to end.
I really loved that film. It was avant-garde and experimental, but also really personal to her, and it actually got me into the area of study that I eventually wrote my thesis on.
There's just so many messages that are played with, so many topics that are played with in such a profound and thought-provoking way that I really had to take a step back. It was one of those powerful punch moments from movies where I'm like, okay, I just saw that. Now it's time to reevaluate.
So one of my favorite films that I kind of learned about in film studies in my experience was Still Life by Jia Zhangke. And I think why I loved it so much is because if I had watched it a few years ago, I really wouldn't have understood it. It's a slower film with kind of a lot of empty, hanging moments. So from my film studies curriculum and experiences, I was able to understand how those quieter, slower moments were actually so rich in their commentary and critique of modern day China.
I think I can probably point to that moment as I'm really into this. I really want to switch my major now over to this. And I really started thinking is this something I could potentially pursue as a career?
It just all hit me in that moment, just the capabilities of the medium and how special film can be and how important film studies is to talk and think through pieces of art like this.